The police sirens were getting closer, and Marcus was still rifling through my filing cabinet when I stepped out of the shadows behind him, looking for something specific. I asked. He spun around, his face pale in the lamplight, my birth certificate crumpled in his trembling hand. The same birth certificate he'd already used to open 3 credit cards in my name. But let me back up 6 months, to when this all started with a conversation I wasn't supposed to hear. It was late October when I'd walked into the kitchen for my evening pills and heard Marcus on the phone in the living room. My grandson's voice carried through the thin walls of my duplex, and something in his tone made me pause by the doorway. Yeah, the old man's got perfect credit, never missed a payment in his life. A laugh that didn't sound like the boy I'd raised since he was 12. He keeps all his documents in that filing cabinet by his desk. Social security card, birth certificate, the works. The pill bottle slipped from my fingers, rattling across the linoleum. Marcus had been living with me for 2 years, since his mother, my daughter Sarah, died in that car accident. I'd thought having him here was helping us both heal. I was wrong about a lot of things. The first sign came 3 weeks later when a credit card statement arrived addressed to me for an account I'd never opened. $5,000 charged to electronics stores, gas stations, restaurants I'd never heard of. When I called the bank, they confirmed my identity with my social security number and told me I'd applied online just 2 weeks prior. But I don't even own a computer, I told the representative. The application came from your home address, sir. IP address confirms it. Marcus had been pushing me to get internet installed for months. Said it would help me stay connected, order groceries online, video chat with old friends. I'd finally agreed the month before. That night at dinner, I mentioned the mysterious credit card. Marcus looked appropriately shocked, suggested maybe someone stole my mail. He offered to help me call the credit agencies in the morning. His concern seemed so genuine. The second statement arrived in December. Another card, another $8,000 in charges. This time I noticed something else. Several charges to an electronics store just 2 miles from our house. I drove there the next morning and asked to see their security footage. The manager, a kind woman named Betty, pulled up the transaction on her computer. Oh yes, I remember this purchase. Young man, early 20s, bought 3 gaming systems and a laptop. Paid with a credit card and showed ID. What kind of ID? Driver's license. Said he was buying Christmas gifts for his nephews. She showed me the receipt. The name on it was mine, but the signature was definitely Marcus's handwriting. I'd seen it on homework assignments and birthday cards for years. That evening, Marcus brought me soup when I said I wasn't feeling well. He sat on the edge of my bed, asking if there was anything else he could do, anything I needed. I looked into his eyes, Sarah's eyes, and almost convinced myself I was imagining everything. Christmas morning, Marcus gave me an expensive watch that I knew cost more than his part-time job at the hardware store could afford. When I asked where he got the money, he said he'd been saving up for months. You've done so much for me, Grandpa, you deserve something nice. That afternoon, while he was visiting friends, I searched his room. Hidden under his mattress, I found receipts for electronics, clothes, dinners at expensive restaurants. All paid for with cards bearing my name. But there was something else. Printouts from credit monitoring websites showing my score, my open accounts, my entire financial profile. He'd been tracking everything, planning this systematically. In his desk drawer, wrapped in a rubber band, were photocopies of all my personal documents. Birth certificate, social security card, driver's license, bank statements, everything someone would need to become me. I sat on his bed for an hour, staring at the evidence of his betrayal. Then I started planning. I spent January learning everything I could about identity theft, fraud, investigation, and criminal law. I visited the library daily, using their computers to research. I documented every fraudulent charge, every suspicious transaction, building a case that would be impossible to deny. But I needed more than evidence. I needed Marcus to reveal himself completely. So I began setting traps. I started leaving documents in obvious places, fake bank statements showing large deposits, investment portfolios that didn't exist, insurance policies with hefty payouts. I wanted to see how far his greed would push him. The bait worked. Within weeks, I received alerts about credit inquiries for accounts I'd never authorized. Someone was checking my credit score multiple times per week. In February, I installed security cameras throughout the house. Marcus never noticed. I told him they were for protection after break-ins in the neighborhood. Really, I needed video evidence of him accessing my personal information. The cameras captured everything. Marcus going through my mail, photographing documents, using my computer to check account balances and apply for loans. But I wanted him caught in the act. I wanted him to understand that I knew exactly who he was. On March 15th, I made my move. I called Marcus at work and told him I was going to the doctor for test results. Might be late coming home. Instead, I parked 3 blocks away and walked back to the house through the rear alley. I knew he'd come home early. He always did when he thought I'd be gone for hours. This was his prime time for digging through my things. Sure enough, his car pulled into the driveway 20 minutes later. I waited in the basement, watching the security monitor as he went straight to my filing cabinet. This time, he wasn't just photographing documents, he was taking them. That's when I made my entrance. Looking for something specific, I asked. He spun around, my birth certificate in his hand, guilt written across his face. Grandpa, I can explain. No need. I held up my phone, showing him the police dispatcher on the line. I've been recording everything for 3 months. The cameras, the bank statements, the credit reports. They're already on their way. His face crumpled, not with remorse, with rage. You don't understand, he said. You're old. You're just going to die anyway. This money, these accounts, what do you need them for? There it was. The truth I'd been avoiding. I raised you, I said quietly. After Sarah died, I gave you everything. And now I'm taking it back. The sirens were getting louder. Marcus looked toward the door, calculating whether he could run. I wouldn't, I said. I've been working with Detective Richardson for weeks. They know about the electronics store, the restaurants, the loan applications. They know about the fake IDs you ordered online using my credit cards. That last part was a lie. I hadn't found any fake IDs, but the look on his face told me I'd guessed correctly. How long? He asked. How long? What? How long have you known? I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Since October, since the night you told your friend I was nothing but perfect credit and convenient access. The police knocked on the front door. The difference between you and me, I said, moving to let them in, is that I actually learned how to be patient. Detective Richardson arrested Marcus that evening. The evidence was overwhelming. Video footage, financial records, even the conversation I'd recorded where he admitted planning to steal my identity. Because I was just going to die anyway. The prosecutor called it one of the most thoroughly documented identity theft cases she'd ever seen. But Marcus had miscalculated one crucial detail. I wasn't just a lonely old man with good credit. I was a retired insurance investigator who'd spent 30 years catching people who thought they were smarter than the system. Marcus got 5 years in federal prison, and I got something much more valuable. The satisfaction of watching him realize that the man he'd tried to rob had been 3 steps ahead of him from the very beginning. Sometimes the best revenge is simply being better at the game than your opponent ever imagined possible.